Here's a bit of a special topic, but one that's worth pointing out because it illustrates something pretty crucial about methyl groups, and they're so important for proton NMR in particular that you really want to pay attention to it. So again, methyl groups are kind of special. In chemical shift, they're almost always all the way to the right if they're at the end of the chain. They are possibly somewhere else depending on what else they're bound to, but as long as they're at the end of a chain, they'd be right around 1. If they're near an oxygen, they'd be right around 3.5. If they're near a carbonyl, maybe around 2, and so on. But there's really only a couple of ways that a methyl can show up, if you think about it. If a methyl is isolated from everything else because whatever is true about these two groups, they are not hydrogen, then this methyl group will show up as a singlet, always. So if there are no neighbors, then your methyl group will look like a singlet. If, on the other hand, you have a methyl group that has one single hydrogen nearby, I'm not specifying this, but it's not hydrogen, and likewise R is not hydrogen, then this methyl will show up as a doublet. So you can have a singlet and you can have a doublet. Okay, what if we have 2 hydrogens nearby? Well, then this methyl can show up as a triplet. So you can have a singlet, you can have a doublet, you can have a triplet. And that's it. Why? Because the only other option is to put 3 hydrogens out there, and that specifically is ethane. And if you have ethane, then all of a sudden there's symmetry in the molecule, and this goes back to being a singlet again. So what are the official allowed multiplicities for a methyl? Singlet, doublet, triplet, that's it. If you see something that integrates for 3, but is not one of these 3 options, then you're not looking at a methyl. Likewise, if you see something that should integrate for 6, and it integrates more like 7, but it's a singlet worth about 7, then I'm going to strongly assume it's a methyl unless proved otherwise, and you need to interpret your integration a little bit better. If, on the other hand, you see something that's messy as heck, but integrates for 6, I'm going to have a hard time believing that that's a methyl unless it's 2 methyls that happen to be overlapping but aren't exactly the same. So again, if you're looking at a nice peak and it integrates for 3 or a multiple of 3 or is close enough that you should interpret it that way, then absolutely think methyl. But if it's something nasty looking, if the multiplicity isn't making sense, then either you have 2 overlapping peaks that you need to pull apart and resolve, or what you're looking at is not a methyl, but just coincidentally adds up to 3. And again, that strongly suggests overlap. So I want you to think about that largely because methyls not only integrate for 3 and not only show up in well-defined places in the chemical shift land, but their multiplicities are almost always nice, which means these are exceptionally powerful for trying to figure out what it is that you're looking at. For compound identification, they really can't be beat.